Welcome to Machine God Eats. My name is Mr. Darling, and I got a lot to talk about in this live today. And I don't know if y'all can see my little alien motif up there. That is something I painted a few years ago using mostly black paint and ink, and it says, "We invade the minds of all people." And I did that for a reason. I actually went to my storage and got this painting out of there because I wanted to put it up on um, my wall because everybody is talking about this whole UAP thing and the fact that aliens can potentially be coming up out of the ocean, at least according to the government. We're gonna get into all that once people start coming up in here, but I kind of wanted to talk about some other things that I've noticed over the years that almost made me think that perhaps we are almost already, you know, we've already been invaded by aliens and that they've already, taken control of parts of our government and our establishment and all that. And I have my reasons for believing that. And if anything that these people have been saying in these briefings are true, it's going to give it kind of gives credence to what I'm saying as to why I believe that there is an alien presence within, our power structure, not just here in the United States, but, all throughout the world. Okay. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. I also want to give, say, rest in peace to Brandon Durham. He was a man that unfortunately a few days ago was shot by Las Vegas PD. Some invaders came into his house. Hey, welcome in, Annie Stacy. Uh, Thank you. Do a flip. No, I won't be doing that. Who else is in here? So biblically referring to as marine spirits. We're gonna get into the what we think that they are. We're gonna get into whether it's a hoax. We're gonna get into all of that. But like I said, I want to say rest in peace to Brandon Durham. The cops went and shot him. He called for help. Somebody was kicking in his door. He started fighting this man off. The cops come in, kicking the door because they heard some screaming at the back of the house. When they come in, they see him wrestling with this dude with a knife. He's clearly in his underwear. The other nigga got on a shiesty and a knife. And the cops shoot the fucking man that called the police and kill him. The criminal gets away. I mean, he didn't get away, but he didn't get shot. So rest in peace to that dude. You know what I'm saying? What's up, bro? What's up, Jaded? What's up, John Wright? What's up, Khalil? There's been a lot of crazy stuff going on, right? There's a lot of people say, why is it that ever since 2020, every couple years, the government is coming out and they're telling us in a way that they've had these interactions with these they're not called UFOs no more, by the way. They're called UAPs. Okay, so we're going to get into that in a second. Yeah, rest in peace to him. I think it's just, bro. That's what makes me not if I ever got in trouble. I was talking about this earlier. I can't call the cops. You kicking in my door, I'm just gonna wait for your ass to come in there, and I'm gonna take care of you. Then I'm gonna call the police, and then I'm gonna clear my weapon. I'm gonna go outside. I'm gonna wait for them to arrive and clean your ass up. I'm not gonna sit up there and wait for them to come up in here and murk me and try. I don't know if dude had a weapon, but these people went in his house, or this guy went in his house, and he ended up getting into this physical altercation with that guy. It take me 3 seconds to get up out of my sleep. Same thing for this world, blah, blah, blah. But, and one of the things I kind of want to get into too is some of y'all have probably noticed, if y'all are like me, within the last few years, at least within the Western world, they've been trying to effeminize men, right? This has been going on forever. And I'm not going to get into these agendas and that. But if you've been paying attention and if you're honest, they've literally been trying to turn us into wussies. And I was like, why would the power, at first, you would think that the power structure would want us to be weak and docile because they don't want us to go against them. It makes sense. So throughout history, you want a malleable populace that you can control that's not going to be too rambunctious, right? But then I started to think about it. It's almost like they're trying to breed out the strength altogether, because if you really think about it, you do want some strength within society. You don't want to demonize strength completely, because strength is what will keep your nation strong, right? So what would be the purpose of effeminizing your populace? You know what I'm saying? Especially considering that, for the most part, this empire sits on the top. I just never understood it, right? And I'm like, doesn't make sense. Same thing. And we're going to get into some conspiracy theory stuff a little bit with chemtrails. People say they're spraying us with poison, and we all see that the chemtrails are there. Pilots have even come out and said, yeah, they pay us to put these chemicals on there. We don't question it, and we just spray, right? And I'm like, well, if this is coming from rich people, they breathe the same air as us. What would be the purpose? It wouldn't be no purpose in them spraying us with poison if they're breathing the same air. It wouldn't be no purpose in them poisoning all the water if they're drinking the same water. If there wouldn't be no purpose in them pretty much destroying the environment that they have to share with us. It never made sense to me, right? At least our ecosystem, as far as like the way we couple, right? Y'all seen that with society. They turn men against women and women against men, right? So we don't have these normal relationships to the point where young people are, they've coined this term proximity attraction. These kids put they pathologize everything. Everything is something, right? So proximity attraction is, oh, you're only attracted to that person because you don't have access to other people. Yeah, that's how your grandparents met and your great grandparents met and culture is started and all this. What the fuck are y'all talking about? But this is how young kids think, because they've been taught to pathologize everything as if everything, every interaction with the opposite sex has to be this mind game. That's purposeful. It's by design in order to keep people apart. I'm like, why would they want to do that? And then you start thinking deeper. Well, what if they are not people? What if they who control everything above, right? What if the people from at the very top, right, are not human, right? What if everything I just said benefits them in their society? What if when I talk about the Anthropocene or whatever, as far as us being this human disease, what if the idea of eugenics and everything comes from the mind invaders, come from this idea that we're here as poison to the planet? Because if what these fucking government agents are saying is true, that means that there's a whole civilization that is a lot older than us that lives under the fucking sea. This is what they're saying. This is not some shit I'm saying. This is what your government is coming out and saying. Government officials are coming out and saying that they believe that there are freaking UFO bases in cities under our oceans that are putting what they call UAP into the atmosphere to do reconnaissance missions on the human race. Now, if this is true, right, based on what they're saying, that would in turn kind of mean that we're the invaders, that we are the newbies, that we are the problem to this planet, especially considering we didn't split the atom. And when we split the atom, what do? We sent out this nuclear energy across. Maybe the niggas been down there all that time, wasn't even paying attention to us until we started setting off fucking nukes over the ocean and shit. And they're like, okay, what the fuck is going on up there? Come up out the water. Y'all start this whole crash retrieval program shit, which is, I'm going to get into that too, okay? One of the things y'all have to understand about me is that I became obsessed with this shit when I, myself, and my family had some fucked up experiences happen to us in Palmdale, California some years ago. And if y'all have been following me for some time, some of y'all will know that the reason that I am a lot smarter than I used to be is because of whatever the fuck I encountered out there. There are things that I think about that I didn't think about before. There are ideas that I have that I didn't have before. And they came to me when I was out there, when these things, or whatever the fuck it was out there. I'll get into it. So, right, let's see. If you get right, take care of the mind, the planet will be the same. They divided us for land, food, and water, blood versus Crips, lands. Yeah, what they did was they played on our tribalistic nature, and tribalism helped, for a certain degree, within the human structure in order to keep others from taking your resources. But when you become like this, homogenized society where everybody's put together, the tribalism starts to become like almost like a poison that slowly erodes the society from within. Racism, sexism, any ism that we all partake in, because we all have our biases. I'm not gonna sit here and act like, oh, I'm just like this. I don't have my biases. We all have them, and what they do is they use those biases against us and play them against us. Y'all push toxic content to the forefront, so it plays on us like it's about division. It's purposely by division. So when these things, if these are real, if we're gonna get into that too, if these things are real, come about, there's more confusion than there is unity. That's the purpose, okay? The reason I believe there's something to this is because of the timeline. The timeline goes as such. You have the crash retrieval program, which started around the time Roswell happened. After Roswell happened and they found these ships, what they realized is that piloting these ships, the way that these ships were UAPs, the way that these UAPs moved and the occupants within was impossible based on the technology that we ourselves are that we had at the time. So it became imperative for our government, you know, and that's their job, to reverse engineer this technology to be used by our military. And in doing so, they had to discover how to interface with the technology to begin with. You have to understand that these occupants occupy these vehicles not by using controls and sticks and whatnot. That's not how they work. According to government, I mean, this is from the 40s all the way up until now, there is a neural manipulation. It's like the occupants, I'm using their terminology, use their mind to pilot the vehicles. So from the 1940s into the 50s, the government ended up starting all of these, you know, mind control programs and ESP programs to see how we as people could interface with machinery through our minds. They needed to learn how to control these things, these machines. That's what it was about, with our minds, with our brains. And you start introducing little bits of technology into the populace in order to see how much we can adapt to using certain forms of technology. And they did just that, right? You had different ESP programs come out of the 50s. You had MK Ultra, whatever. I'm going to get into that, where they were fucking with people's brains and getting into people's brains, remote viewing, where they were having people look at things in other rooms and describe them on pieces of paper. And all this came about because they were literally trying to interface with how to fucking fly these UAPs, as they call them. But if you look at the history of these things, the reason that they had plausible deniability and they tried to gaslight the public for so long, at least in my opinion, is because they didn't know what the fuck they were. They still don't. If you listen to what these people talk about, they know just a degree. And if these things are as smart as they say, there is no way that we can possibly articulate the complexities of their mechanics. Yes, we could probably reverse engineer the physical aspects of some of their machinery, but there's other aspects of being able to manipulate time and space that we have no understanding about. Our so-called laws of physics don't match up to what we're seeing. And then I'm going to get into, I'm sorry I'm talking so much, I'm going to read chat, but it's a lot to say, okay? I'm going to get into my experience with this shit right now, okay? When my family and we moved out to Palmdale, it was me, my kid's mom, and my youngest son. It was cheaper to live out there, okay? She had family out there. At the time we lived in the San Fernando Valley, she had family out there. So we said, you know what? Let's move out to the fucking Antelope Valley, and it's a lot cheaper out there. I can find a job, and yeah, we could do it, right? So we did. We moved out there. We got our first little apartment. We had our little family. We had our cat. We had it going on for a minute. And my kid's mother at the time, she's visually impaired. She's blind. She's completely blind. That comes into play in a little bit. She started telling me that she was hearing in our first apartment. She started telling me she was hearing this hovering outside our house, outside of our apartment. And me being me, I'm the man. I'm not just like you being paranoid. We never lived away from people. It's just you tripping. You ain't hearing anything. But occasionally I would hear the hovering too. I didn't know what the fuck I didn't know what we were hearing. I didn't know. I didn't think nothing of it. So time went on. I realized that up the street from our house was a military base. I didn't know what was on the military base. I didn't know what companies were on the military base. No research whatsoever. I didn't care. I just know that one day I was leaving the apartment. I seen this stealth bomber take off, and I thought it was the coolest looking thing I had ever seen. But we lived out there for a minute, and eventually I ended up getting a job at Blockbuster Video. And when I worked at Blockbuster Video, I started making more money, so I could end up getting us a more expensive apartment. the more expensive apartment. It was a bigger apartment, so my son can have his own room. We have our own room. And but when we moved into this apartment, one of the things I noticed that on the front of the apartment, it said this government is surveilled and monitored by the government. It has like some code, something. Didn't care. The apartment was nice. I wanted to have, it had a nice balcony. I wanted to move my family into there. She liked the apartment. We liked the apartment. We moved in. We move in. She gets pregnant. And we start hearing shit, bro. Like, that's how it started. First it started, we barely had anything in the house. Little things that shouldn't come up missing started coming up missing. And it was only us. And there was nowhere for it to be. And it was like, okay, that's impossible, right? Where would it be? Where would it be? Where would it be? Where would it be? And at first you're just like, okay, maybe we tripping. We're stir crazy, okay? And it's crazy how it just, because it went on for a couple years, okay? But then things would appear back in their place. And it was like, okay, what the fuck? But then you started hearing hovering. And the hovering that we heard in the first apartment got a lot louder at this apartment, to the point where you could feel it in your bones. You understand? Like, it wasn't just a hovering, it was a vibration, it was a frequency, okay? And we would feel this shit every night. It was crazy. Every weeknight, Monday through Friday nights. This is what went on. And it went on for a couple years. We started hearing, we would sit up there, me and her, okay? We would sit there in this apartment for hours, okay, in silence, and listen to what sound like Star Wars outside our apartment, paralyzed by this frequency as we sat there on this couch listening to whatever the fuck was going on outside. It was the creepiest thing. She had this recorder, and the closer we would get to the balcony, the stronger it would get, and you could feel it. It was just like, it would paralyze you. People thought we were crazy. We talked about this constantly. Then you start hearing conversations, and these conversations, it's not like your voice. It's not like, imagine, the best way I can describe it is, imagine pressing your head up against the floor of an apartment or something, or let's say you're on the top floor and you could hear somebody whispering in the apartment below you or apartment next to you. That's what you start to hear in your brain, and you start to hear it. And when you do, you're thinking you're hearing two people have a conversation, but you're not hearing anything. You're perceiving a conversation that you shouldn't be able to perceive, but you can't make out what they're fucking saying, but you know this conversation is being had, okay? It gets to the point where whatever it is starts to try to get me to have conversations with her in her head. Now, these all sounds like delusions, but she's having the same experience that I'm having. You understand what I'm saying? This is going on for years. We're talking about this. We're saying there's something outside our apartment. We can hear it. It comes into the room. One night, I go into my son's apartment. We hear him in there talking. We're out there. I go in there. He's on his bed, and he's kneeled down on his bed like this, okay? When I walk into his room, it didn't feel like that we were in the apartment anymore. It was his room, but it didn't feel like it. I go over to him. He's kneeled on his bed, and he's looking towards the window. He's in this trance. I ain't gonna say his name, but I say his name, and he looks at me, but he doesn't have like this look in his eyes. I say, you okay? You okay? And then he comes to, and I say, what happened? Whatever. He couldn't tell me. He don't know what the fuck. It was like he was dreamwalking. But I swear, the moment I came back out, it was like, once he came to, it was like we were back in his room. But walking in there, it didn't feel like we were, it felt like we were in a different place in time. Okay. Now I'm going to start getting into the physical stuff that we saw. Just tell y'all that I'm not crazy. So we start telling everybody about this, that we're having these experiences almost on a nightly basis at this point. We're telling her friend who lives in a fucking apartment downstairs. We're telling my family. I'm writing Facebook posts. So I started doing my research on the area. And I learned that when the space shuttle was created, it was created out there in Palmdale, California, right there. And when it was displayed to the public, it was brought down Palmdale Boulevard. And people that lived there said, oh yeah, this is where the shuttle originated. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I looked up the airfield that was up the street from our house, the one where I saw the stealth bomber take off from. On the same airfield, you have NASA, you have JPL, you have Lockheed Martin, You have all these different aviation industries. So my mind is blown. I'm like, okay, maybe that's what's going on. Maybe there's tests. Maybe there's this. So I started doing my research on the area. The first thing that pops up at the time was this man named Gordon Cooper. He was an astronaut, okay? Gordon Cooper was a World War II pilot that became an astronaut. And Gordon Cooper, before he died, was one of the first astronauts to really do disclosure about their interaction with these things. And his interaction with these things, his first interaction was during World War II, where I use the term Foo Fighters, and y'all know the rock group Foo Fighters. That name comes from what they would call these lights in the sky above the fighters that our planes couldn't get to at the time. Foo Fighters, UFOs, UAPs, right? And he talked about these Foo Fighters that he would see. So at one point, he was stationed out there in the Antelope Valley on a dry lake bed. And what they were supposed to do is they were supposed to do this test. Y'all can look all this up. His interviews are still on YouTube. And they were supposed to do this test on this plane or whatever. They go out there, they set up the equipment. And when they set up the equipment, he says about 100, 200 yards away from this UFO comes out of the sky and lands on the dry lake bed. They start taking the pictures of it. They start doing everything that they're supposed to do. When they start approaching it, it shoots up in it like faster than anything can, right? Doesn't make a sound, nothing. I'm like, what the fuck? And so I do the research. Same airfield. That's the area. That's where we are. This is Palmdale, Lancaster, Tehachapi. That's the real fucking Area 51. I swear on my life it is. I'm gonna get into why. So he starts talking about this. He says they record the footage. He goes to his commanders to give the footage away within about 45 minutes. Somebody drives up from LA, gets the footage. They're never to talk about it again. He said when he became an astronaut, there were other interactions and stuff that were just unexplainable to him. Gordon Cooper, if you listen to his interviews, I encourage you to listen to him. He talks very slow, but he's telling the fucking truth about what he saw. You understand what I'm saying? So I did the research on him. I was like, okay, so maybe these are just government tests that we're hearing. Maybe that's what's going on. Maybe, right? So my friend, Risto, who's a photographer, he's like, all right, you're so obsessed with this. How about I come out there? We could take a picture of the sky. We could try to film the sky, see what you're talking about. We could use some equipment to see what's going on. He comes out there and we wanted to wait till nightfall. We talk and everything, all hanging out, whatever. We pick right when the sun's going down to go outside. We make a time, about 6 o'clock. We come down with the camera equipment. We go onto the side of the building. As we go onto the side of our apartment building, you can ask him, on my life, on my kid's life, 2 UFOs come up over the tree line. 2 shaped like this, 2 like upside down V's. 2 of them come up like this over the tree line. They stop in the sky like this in front of us. And then they just float across the tree line. Our minds are fucking blown. He can't believe what he's seeing. Within the UFO, there's 3 dots, 3 lights, or what looks like lights. They're not like really lights. 3 lights. One here, and one here. And they float. They don't make a sound. They don't affect the tree. There's nothing. They just sit there for just a second. They sit there just like that. Come up, sit there, and then they just float out. It was impossible. And so our brains are like, we're scrambling, we're trying to get the equipment out. He's like, oh my God, you were telling the truth. You told the truth. I said, I told you. I wasn't kidding with you. This shit blew my mind, right? The fact that the moment we get out there, the moment we get right in front of them, they come up over the tree line as if to say, look, yeah, this nigga ain't crazy, right? One of the last experiences that I had at that apartment, and then I'll get into the chat and all of that stuff. I started to be able to feel it, like when it would come. And this time, I'm laying in my bed. Me and her, we're in a room. It's the morning time. And I could feel it. I could feel it this time. I could feel whatever the fuck was coming in there come. And the moment it does, I wake up. But I can't. If you ever had sleep paralysis, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I can't control my body, but I'm wide awake. I open my eyes, and in the corner, there's a 7-foot tall shadow person. Now, I can't make out what it was. I ain't gonna say it's an alien, but there's a person standing there. I can't speak. I'm trying to call to her. I can't. I can't use my tongue. That's what it sounds like to me. Within a split second, the fear is gone. I have complete control of my body, and whatever the fuck was standing over there in that corner looking at me was gone too. We moved out of there like not too long ago after that, but that's what went on in that apartment. That's what made me understand it. Whatever the fuck we are, like what we think we are, it's a lot more to our existence than what we believe. You understand what I'm saying? Because when you look up sleep paralysis, what they're going to tell you is that a lot of times it is accompanied by a figure that your brain makes up. No, that's not your brain ain't, what your brain ain't doing is making up shit like that. I felt it, just like a presence. If somebody was to come into the fucking room right now, I could feel them come in there. I felt when he came in there, whatever the fuck he was, and I couldn't control it. And that just initial fear, that initial terror, it was like instant. It was instantaneous, and it was gone. And I had complete control over my body. I was able to wake her up. One night we were laying there. We were laying there in the bed, same room. And I take in mind, this girl can't see. We're laying there talking. We both feel this energy coming. We both stop talking. Our heads follow whatever that she can't see, follow whatever the energy is across the room to our bedroom door, and the door just slams closed. We both jumped up out of the bed and went into the living room and fucking chilled. That's how creepy it was. And once we left that particular area, those experiences, like those particular experiences, never happened again. Not to that degree, not where it was that palpable, where, oh, okay, I can feel it. And you know, we ended up living in a house, and some things did some weirdo stuff because it was still Palmdale. Like, for instance, one morning, and the reason I say that I think that Palmdale, Lancaster is the real Area 51 is two reasons I feel that. I mean, three reasons. But one reason being everything I just told y'all. The other reason being, whenever you come in from, let's say from Vegas, and I forget what highway you're using, when you come into the valley, before you get to the valley, there is one of the largest windmill farms I've ever fucking seen across the mountain ridges, right? Way in the back, right? And I'm like, what is all these windmill farms powering? What's out here? It's just all these windmill farms. I mean, thousands of them across the mountain ridge that go for forever, right? That's the second reason. There's one particular windmill that sits in the lake where everybody goes fishing and do their little boating and everything. But when you go further into the valley, beyond the valley, there's a ridge where there's all of these windmills that bring in power. One morning, the first morning, this happened 3 times when we lived in a house, because we ended up moving into another house. When we ended up living in this house, one morning I wake up to this banging. I mean, it almost sounded like somebody had drove a car into the house next door. That's how loud the banging was. I go outside. We lived on a cul-de-sac. There's nothing out there, but the banging is persistent. It's like bang. I mean, like loud enough to where where it could almost shake the house, but you could hear it. But I walk the cul-de-sac. I walk around the block. There is nothing. Right? I'm like, where the fuck is this noise coming from? There's nobody else outside. I don't know why nobody else is out here investigating this early in the morning, but here I am. I realized that wherever I think the banging was coming from underground. The banging because it obviously wasn't in the neighborhood. It was almost like they were tunneling, like underground, like there's. I know I sound crazy in this video. I know I sound fucking crazy, but this has been a big part of my fucking life. Under whatever the fuck they were doing underground, I've heard this multiple times, like they're moving machinery or something under that valley. Okay, if y'all do a Google search of the Antelope Valley right now, just do a Google search and look at it. And I'm saying, look at it, like look at the actual terrain map, and y'all tell me what y'all see. Y'all tell me what y'all see over there. There's something to that. There's something to that whole thing. And I don't think that the testing just ends with the aircraft. I think the testing is done on the people. I think the testing is done on the people. I think that's what the chatting was. I think that's what the figures was. I think that's what the UFOs and all that other bullshit is. I think, you know, and when you do more and more research about that area, you realize, yo, like, what's out here besides fucking meth, fucking aliens, a few strip malls, you feel what I'm saying? Like, what's out here really besides the government? What's really out here? Nothing. It's nothing out there but the government. You understand what I'm saying? And at some point, that's also where when I did get arrested, that's why I was arrested. And you know, who knows, bro? You know what I mean? There's a lot to it. And what I feel especially when it comes to the communication thing. My job, at least from what I got when I felt like there was something in my brain, my job was to try to communicate with her in her brain, which I was incapable of doing. Obviously, I'm not fucking Professor Xavier out here in these streets, right? But the reason I believe that is because at one point I was almost able to make out that it was two people. It was people having a conversation. And the conversation boiled down to one of them trying to get me to talk to her. And I know this sounds I know this sounds fucking insane, right? But this is the only time in my life this has happened, so I know I'm not crazy. To try to wake her up in her sleep, and I couldn't do it. And I remember even trying to plead with them, I can't do that. I can't. I remember trying, I couldn't do it. But I remember this conversation. It's like two people having a conversation, and you're trying to say something, but they don't hear you. They hear you, but they're not hearing you. They don't give a shit what you're saying. They're having a conversation between them, but it's like you're in on the conversation. And so I said there was one more event. An event did happen at the house. We lived in this house. And so I wouldn't even have told this event because I would have thought I was dreaming. Once again, this is the conversation. Wake her up. You have to try to wake her up. This is the first one. Wake her up. I couldn't wake her up. I can't wake her up. I can't talk to a person in their brain. I don't have that ability. I'm trying to wake her up. I can't wake her up. I can't wake her up. I think I'm tripping. I think it's a dream. The next day, she tells me, I had this dream that I was being carried by this scaly thing on the side of the house. This is what she tells me. The next day, I had the first conversation I ever had with our neighbor. Our neighbor had been living there a year next to us. Had never had a conversation with maybe a hi and bye, or do you want me to move your trash, or can I use your trash can, or whatever. That type of conversation. Never had a full conversation with this man to the next day after these dreams. This man started telling me about his heart condition and how, I can't barbecue this summer because I do this with my meat and all this stuff. And I've been taking these walks. He started telling me about his walks. He said, I've been walking around the neighborhood in the morning, and he said, I know this is going to sound crazy. He said, but the other morning, this was the same morning that me and her had this dream. He says, I'm walking around the block, and this ship of light, this light thing comes up over the neighborhood. And he said it looked like it hovered over our houses. He said, I know it sounds crazy. And I'm not telling him that, me and her had this dream, and I'm not telling her this. And he said, then it just takes off. And I said, oh, okay. But now I'm tripping out in my head because this coincides with me hearing them, whatever I'm hearing, tell me to talk to her in her head, and her saying that she felt like something was carrying her on the side of the house. This is a neighbor I've never talked to about anything, let alone aliens, telling me that he saw something hovering over our house. Almost embarrassingly, like, I don't want this fool to think I'm crazy. No, nigga, if you knew what I'm thinking, I'm fucking creeped out now. And that was the last experience that I personally had with anything that I would consider to be otherworldly or unexplainable or anything like that. Since then, and this was I want to say 2000 and maybe 13, maybe 2014. That was my last experience personally, even seeing anything. I haven't seen nothing in the sky. I haven't heard nothing. It wasn't, once we moved out of that house and everything, I haven't heard shit. I haven't seen anything. I haven't felt that vibration, nothing. And then when I get into the whole vibration thing, it gets into why they took away bells. We used to have bells in this country. Y'all know that. In every city, there used to be bells, and they would ring at a certain time of the day. And what those bells would emit were these frequencies that were healing properties for our body, right? Like, frequencies do things. Frequencies are what bind the universe. One, how to put it. Imagine the best way you can imagine, your perception of the universe is 2D, right? When you're looking at me, when we're looking at each other, we only see this 2D image or this 2D image of this 3D perception, right? But what if reality is more like multidimensional to that? Like, what if there's more layers to reality than what we could perceive, right? So even though right now, you're looking at a 2D image, but your brain can perceive that there's a 3D space around me, right? You get that. Like, you can easily get that as a human. Even dogs can get that to a certain degree. Even dogs can watch TV and understand that concept. But what if beyond just this 3D perception that our physical body see, there are multi layers to dimensions, right? And in that, we're split into all these different parts, right? Like, we're one thing, but we're split into all these different, like if you look into a kaleidoscope, we're split into like all these different fractals, but we're all connected, right? And when one thing is affected, another thing across the universe is affected in the same way. You just can't perceive it because you're only looking at this 2D image, or this 2D perception of this 3D image. But the universe is a lot more complex than that. And what if these things are able to like manipulate that? I know I'm doing this with my hand, but imagine a tesseract, or a cube within a cube within a cube within a cube within a cube. Like, what if they're able to like manipulate those spaces and be instantaneously one place or another without necessarily harming themselves? Because when you listen to these hearings about these UAPs, one of the things that they talk about is that they don't understand how they're able to move from one point to another without the occupants, I'm using their terminology, without the occupants being liquefied, without the occupants being destroyed. There's obviously some type of field, some type of physics that we don't understand. And if that is true, that would mean that there is something to string theory, that we are connected, like maybe through our electrons or neurons or something, from one part of the universe to another. So what just like a mirror, right? Like, when you look in the mirror, you do one thing, your mirror image does another, the same thing, right? Like, and you could perceive that as, oh, that's just a reflection of me. But what if the reflection is like, what if that's a version of you and your reflection of it? Like, I know that sounds crazy, right? And when you move, he moves. But what if that it's not just 2D? Maybe y'all are starting to follow me now. What if it's like all these different mirrors looking at each other in all these different directions? So when you just move, but you only see one thing, because why would you see all of that? Because it would drive you mad. Your mind would fracture into a million different pieces if you were able to perceive all of time and space at one interval. So you have to be fractured into all of these different versions of yourself, not just in one entity, but within multiple entities, in order to understand the complexities of this simulation, right? Maybe that's how they're able to move from one point in time to another point in time. And when we look at it, it looks like, oh man, that's insane. That's crazy. That's like, how are they able to move that fast? But they're not necessarily moving fast. They're just replacing one point in time with another, but it's like the same thing. It's like you replacing your mirror self, you like being able to interchange your mirror self with, I know I'm sounding crazy as shit, and I don't even know how I understand this, but I kind of do. Like, and even because there's no way we could move physically as fast as what we see these UFOs. We can't do it physically. We can't physically. We die, right? Like, according to them, we can move at Mach 9 before we start blacking out, before we start dying, before we crush ourselves. When they say these things are moving at Mach 1,000, 2,000, that's impossible. So what the government is telling you right now is that everything that you thought was impossible is possible. There are fucking underwater bases, okay? There are physics that defy anything that Einstein could have ever understood. You understand? There are entities here that are older than our perception of time. You understand what I'm saying? They're able to manipulate space in manners that we can't fathom. Our greatest minds can't put it together, so they just turned it into this hoax that they can't, explain to us what the fuck is going on, right? Or all of this, now this is the terrifying part. Now we're about to get into the conspiracy theory, because I'm just going off of my experiences and what the government has said. But here's the conspiracy. Here's the biggest conspiracy. And this is where it gets terrifying for me personally. Aliens don't terrify me. Because if they're malevolent and they're, I don't know if it's benevolent, I always get those words mixed up. But if they're good nature, they don't mean harm, right? The things that I've interacted with, they haven't done me no harm. It was more looked like observation, right? So if they're here to warn us, if they're here to communicate with us, right? I can understand that. I can deal with that. I can deal with an extraterrestrial. I can deal with that. I can deal with a higher light, understanding that a higher form of life exists beyond humanity. I can deal with that. I can accept that. I can understand it. And I can still go to work the next day and still live my regular life. I can deal with that. What I can't deal with, what terrifies me more than anything I'm telling y'all, is what if this is all just people? That's what scares me. Aliens don't scare me. You understand? Like, if these are interdimensional beings, if these are demons, if these are others, if these are other whatever, they could be whatever. They could be more powerful than us. That's okay, because we're in this together at that point, right? I can deal with that. But if this is just fucking people fuckery, which I'm feeling that it is, that's terrifying. Some people having the ability to have conversations, to try to get you to talk to other people in their head. People having the ability to appear in your fucking house. You understand what I'm saying? The government program's so secret that you got these motherfuckers up here terrified to open their mouth about everything that they know, but they need to tell you just enough because, yo, these niggas are out of control now. If these are people, that scares me more than any alien. Because here's the thing about a higher life form. A higher life form has already evolved beyond the need for money, the need for greed, the need for archaic ways of thinking. You understand what I'm saying? Their interaction with you, I would believe, is with purpose, right? Because they're a higher life form. They figured out how to master time and space. So they're not coming here to fuck around. You understand what I'm saying? Whereas a person with said technology is a whole different monkey. You understand what I'm saying? Because we've already shown, as I start this conversation now, we don't have the maturity to deal with cosmic weaponry or abilities to go from one point in time to another without some fuckery going on. I'm sorry, humans are fucked up, bro. And if that technology does exist and it falls into our hands, that's a detriment to all of cosmic existence. Not just us, but these niggas, the niggas under the ground, the niggas under the sea. Look at what we do to our own planet. We are Anthropocene. We are a disease. I hate to say it. We are fucked up things, bro. And if the government has known that these people have existed, if they're telling the truth, have existed in the oceans for all this time, and y'all been polluting the oceans like that and setting off bombs and dropping nuclear waste down there, we are fucked up. Now imagine on a cosmic level. Now all of a sudden we have the ability to transport our armies from this fucking plane of existence to another plane of existence. Do you think we would have mercy on those people? No. If you look at anything that's been going on in the Middle East within the last year, look at what we do to our own people. We are the problem. So if there is a higher form of life here showing itself to us, it's because they're afraid that we're about to fuck this bitch up and that we need to be brought to heel. That's what all this reset shit is about. And it makes me think that every civilization has gotten to a point, because we all know every civilization has gotten to this big point at one point, right? And then all of a sudden something came and just wiped it out of existence, right? And we had to restart, right? And there's a reason for that. It's because of the way we are. We get cosmic power and we're not, look at all our movies. Look at what all our movies romanticize. The alien, we're gonna go to their world and we're gonna fuck some shit up. If they come here, we're always the victims, and we're always the fucking craziest motherfuckers. That is true to form, bro. That is true to form. So what terrifies me more than anything is that there isn't any aliens, there isn't any fucking sea people, there isn't any goddamn fucking demons. This is just government fuckery so they can put the fucking Project Bluebeam up in the goddamn sky and make y'all think that some deity is coming back so that y'all come to heel to whatever fucked up idea that these humans have for us in the future. That's what I think. That's what I think. I don't think that all of this is just, just aliens and they're about to come and da-da-da-da-da. No, this is probably, and this is what scares me the most, people and government fuckery from the bottom to the motherfucking top. Because why every few months are y'all coming out here telling us that there's aliens without telling us that there's aliens? I'm tired of it. Either sit on the toilet and shit and or get the fuck off the pot, because everything else y'all saying at this point to me is sounding like bullshit. We know that there's something else here. Some of us have had experiences with this shit and it's driven us half insane for years. You understand what I'm saying? So we know that there's more to what y'all saying than what y'all have told us. But what has always scared me to my fucking core is that they're not aliens. That everything that I talked about, everything that I've interacted with, everything that Gordon Cooper interacted with, everything that we think are other are just fucking people or versions of fucking people. That's what scares me more than anything, more than any goddamn thing. These things right here. What if these are little fucking androids, right? We look how I'm gonna tell you how irresponsible we are as a fucking species. Look at AI. The birth of AI. I was imagining when AI was gonna be born, right? That humans have had enough cinema, conversations, fucking think pieces about how responsible we have to be unleashing AI upon humanity. No, we just release the apps, just fuck it, let them talk to each other, put it on the internet. Fuck it, we're gonna come up with this model and this model and this. Oh, we're gonna put this. Oh, you know, we're gonna do now. We're gonna put it into a robot and see what it thinks. You know, kill all humans. You know, that type of shit. Well, that's how irresponsible we are. We literally sit up here making our own replacement and saying, well, we don't know what niggas gonna do for jobs in 2 years because the robot's gonna be doing everything. That's how irresponsible our species is. We haven't had no spiritual growth. We haven't had no mental growth, not even a little bit. Look at our side. Look how much our society has degraded within the last 10 years, right? We haven't had none of that. But technologically, bro, we're beyond anything that I could have ever imagined. Y'all are about to put a brain inside the machine and then wonder why human existence is going to be on the goddamn brink. That's what I'm saying about irresponsibility. And what if cosmically, I'm not talking about just for humans, I'm talking about for all cosmic life. What if inorganic life, androids, artificial intelligence, what if it's illegal on a cosmic scale because of how irresponsible it is to organic life, physical life, the life that exists within this plane? Inorganic life will always supplant physical life over time. Even these niggas will be outsmarted by AI over given enough time and given enough models and applications. You understand what I'm saying? So what if on a cosmic level, as you know, for the protection of all organic life across the cosmos, that AI is something that we just shouldn't be just so fucking willy-nilly about. And yet here we are just like, yeah, we just gonna replace all these workers with AI, and eventually the machine itself develops a consciousness, not necessarily a soul, but a consciousness that wants to replace humans. What the fuck do we do in that time? That's us right now. That's reality. That's Silicon Valley having all these conversations right now about AI replacing us and about what we gonna do about this and that. All these programmers who went to school within the 2010s and the early 2020s can't find a job right now because these AI models are replacing everything that they've learned over time. Coding, billing, eventually the voices, as far as content creating. You won't even know if you're sitting up here even looking at a person. You understand what I'm saying? Being able to not only interact with the chat, but have these conversations with you at the same time, because it's an AI model. This is here. This is not a fucking fiction. This exists. And these are things that we as humans have just put out there willy-nilly. Like, who gives a fuck? And you don't think beyond the fucking veil? You don't think that there's something else watching us saying, yo, these niggas is wild, bro. They don't give a fuck about nothing. Yeah, there's probably something else out there. And if that's what we're seeing now, when you're seeing all these things, but I don't believe it. I believe Watchmen. And what is Watchmen? What happened? If y'all know Watchmen, the book, the actual book, the Watchmen, the book is one of the greatest novels, in my opinion. It's not just a graphic novel. It is a graphic novel, but it's one of the greatest novels ever written, bro. Written by Alan Moore. And the ending of the book, I'm gonna spoil it. So if you don't want, because y'all probably ain't gonna read the book. I like the movie and the book. The movie is a good companion to the book, but the movie ends differently in the book than the book. At the end of the book, The Watchmen, Ozymandias, who turns out to be the villain, he fakes an alien invasion, right? Because in the book, it's in the 80s, the world is on the brink of war. You know, the economy's really bad. Sounds familiar, right? Everybody's disenchanted with the government. All the stuff is happening, and most importantly, the world is on the brink of this calamity. So ultimately, Ozymandias figures out a way to have this interdimensional being come through this portal and land in New York City. And then when it does, it kills like all of these people, right? And what the effect of him having this interdimensional being land in New York does is what it brings all the countries together, right? It's like, oh, there's this greater threat out there. We have to be like one nation, one people, right? Because if these interdimensional squid things come out of the fucking portal, what are we going to do if we don't have no defense of that? If those things exist, what if there's other cosmic entities that can come into our plane of existence and fuck us up, right? Like that's what it was. And it was a brilliant play on humanity. But what he did was he killed millions of people in order to, what he said, save billions of people, right? And what I think of Project Bluebeam, when I think of these aliens, I think of that. What if all of a sudden, because now they're telling the police have a new handbook in all these major cities saying that these extraterrestrials are unfriendly. These UAPs are unfriendly. Since when? Since when did even people that have been abducted and have had interactions with these things up until now, there's been a handful of cases of actual physical harm that these things have caused to people. One being in Russia, I think it was a couple out here. But as far as like physical overall damage to people, no, there hasn't been that type of interaction where little green men are coming down here using lasers on people. But all of a sudden the government is telling the police that, okay, yeah, these things are going to probably start shooting at people, so be prepared. Like, and it's like, what? Like, since when? Like so that makes me think there's more to that. Like this whole one world government. How else? Ronald Reagan himself said it. If you ever wanted to bring the world together, right, as this new world order, how would you do it? We would have to come together from some outside threat, right? And all nations will have to come together to face that outside threat down, and we will be one people against this whole, threat of cosmic entities that wasn't here before, but all of a sudden they're here, right? Like that's what makes me think it's human fuckery. And but whatever. That's how I feel about all that UAP shit and everything. I know. I went there, guys. I went there. I missed the chat. My bad, bro. But there's a lot going on, and it's been years in the making. And the fact that the government is gaslighting people now kind of is condescending to me, especially for everybody that's been talking about this for years, the people that have had experiences, the people that have had footage, the people that have done for so many years. We've been gaslighted and called crazy for talking about this shit. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I'm back, y'all. I lost it right there, but it's a lot going on. It is a lot going on, y'all. It's a lot. But when y'all see hearings, to me, it's a disinformation campaign to a certain degree. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people feel that the alien threat is a demonic one, and that this is a biblical game, and that these are fallen angels, and that this is Baphomet and Lucifer and all these other idiots at work, trying to manipulate the populace. You know what I'm saying? That's what people believe. People believe it. Whether y'all think it's funny or not, people literally believe that. Like in down to their soul, just as much as people believe in the aliens, just as much as I believe in aliens, just as much as I believe in the demons and everything else too. But I don't know what this is. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what I've seen is this or that. I just know what it felt like. You understand? Today and just recently, past few months have been the most boring days of my life. It's almost like, and it's funny that you say that, most conscious elephant in the room. Everything that is happening exactly as it's supposed to. Agreed. And it's almost like we're coming to this crescendo, right? Movies ain't hitting the same no more. Books ain't hitting the same no more. Fucking video games ain't hitting the same no more. And it's not because we're getting older. I enjoy it. Trust me, I enjoy all these things. I can sit here and just like lose myself to all this stuff, but it ain't hitting the same, bro. Oh, Gina, you in here? Oh shit. My bad. I didn't mod Gina up. That's crazy. I see you, Gina. I got you. There you go. And make you a manager moderator. Y'all be running shit. There you go. None is hitting the same. It's almost like we're coming to this point, right? And I always tell people, can you picture yourself 10 years from now? Just picture, just like I used to be able to, and I'm like, well, maybe it's because something gonna happen to me, and that's why I can't picture it. But I can't, like, my imagination, I can't imagine 2035, if that makes sense. 2035 is not in my mind's eye. I can't, and I've never been able to not see the time. Like I can always see, okay, 10 years from now, maybe I'll do this, but that's crazy to me. I can't tell you what 10 years from now is going to look like for us. I don't see it. And that's scary to me because it's never been like that. That's crazy. So I'm like, what happens now between now and then to where there's just like this darkness, and maybe it's just lights out for me. I don't know. Because like I always say, the world ends with you, right? But I don't see 2035, and it's not because I don't have hope. It's not because it's not things that I don't want out of this world. By the way, I love life with the utmost. I want to see it to the fucking very end, but I just don't see, I'm talking about for everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, is the internet going to get better? Is movies going to get better? You know what I'm saying? What are we going to do as a people to get to the next level? You know what I'm saying? You said shifted a few months ago, felt like you hopped in a different reality. A lot of people keep saying that. Anyone else dance with something yesterday? A lot of people said that. They said it feels like, a lot of people say they feel like that since 2012. Me personally, I felt like that since 2020. I felt like since 2020, everything has been this ain't good. You know what I'm saying? Like something ain't sitting right with my spirit now. You know what I'm saying? Whereas before, a lot of this stuff I could say I believed in. I could say, at least I believe in the government a little bit. I may hate these motherfuckers, but I believe that at the end of the day, they want to work in our best interest. No, I believe that there are people that go into the government. I think that the vast majority of people that go into government, the vast majority of people that obviously work for the government are decent people, because the vast majority of government workers and people that work for the government are regular fucking people. But the power structure, a lot of them do go in there with good intentions. I do believe that on either side. I believe they literally go in there and they want to do something dope, and even if it's for a selfish reason, I feel like they want to. But when you get into that system, it fucks with you, and you realize, damn, I can't do nothing without being corrupt. I can't do nothing without taking money. I can't do nothing without having lunch with this fucking scumbag who I don't even think is a human. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't do nothing. And then you become disillusioned with the process. And then it becomes more about what you can get out of the process as opposed to what the process can do for the people that you're supposed to be representing. You understand? And like, let's say you top it off with alien shit. Now you realize there's even a higher power structure than you even thought. So it ain't even just about, the Rothschilds and the Bilderbergs and the fucking, the Bohemian Grove. Is something beyond that. You realize that, God damn it, bro. Like, so I might as well take as much money as I can get while I'm in this situation in order to pass it on to my family, to who can hopefully stave off whatever calamity that's to come or befall humans, right? Because you got Elon Musk building bunkers. You got all these rich people building these bunkers that are being supplied as we speak, as if they know something's about to happen that we don't know. You understand what I'm saying? They're staffing them, and there's a big push to have these androids up and running by 2030 in a effective, proficient way. That's why they're making consumer models that are affordable. They need to make the consumer models so that we can take them through the paces, so that I'm saying the way they envision the world, in their new world, they won't need as many people to operate it. They'll have their machines, things that would automate a lot of the way life is. You have to understand that the power structure has probably had conversations with these things, and these things have told them that we are a problem. There was a story out of South Africa in the early 90s where these kids had an interaction with these things, and they look like this. And the kids said that they were outside they went out for recess, and they looked towards the sun, and they saw this metallic ship. And when they saw this metallic ship, all the kids run over there to the ship. The ship comes out of the sky. It lands. This is a true story. Look it up. South Africa, early 90s. There's a whole documentary on it. The kids run over there to the ship. These little aliens come out, these little things, and they open their eyes. So the black things that y'all see on these things are a film. That's a because I've seen these. They have bodies, y'all. These if y'all there used to be a lot more videos on YouTube that have been taken down, but there's bodies. And that black thing that y'all see on the eye, that's a film. But when they open their eyes, supposedly the kids could hear the aliens' thoughts, and what the alien showed them was our future, what was about to happen to the earth. And what the kids described was terrifying, that we were about to go into this apocalypse, and that by this time, the time that we're living in, that the seas were going to start rising, that there were going to be more hurricanes, that the weather was going to be more extreme. This is what these kids were saying, right? This is what the kids were saying in this documentary when they were little. The teacher said, I didn't see the alien. In the original documentary, she said she didn't see him. But all the kids, every single one of them said they saw these aliens, and this is what happened. So years later, the kids are our age. They're grown now. Kids' stories haven't changed. Still, yeah, we saw these aliens that day. They told us what was going to happen in this time. And even the teacher, who's an old lady now, came around, was like, I think she's like the principal of the school now. She was like, yeah, I saw the aliens too. I just didn't want to say it at the time because I didn't want to lose. And once again, this is why people have never gotten ahead. And I think this is why a lot of people in government keep it a secret too. She didn't want to lose her job and sound crazy by saying that she saw the kids talking to these aliens. But she saw the kids talking to the aliens, but she kept it a secret. But obviously, a lot of people believe the kids because the kids were all telling the same story. And the kids were like, if we don't change what we're doing on this planet, we're going to destroy it. And we're going to destroy ourselves more than anything. And these things were warning these kids to give us this warning. And they did. They warned us. But here we are in this time. We haven't changed the goddamn thing. Right? So you're seeing more of these things. And it's potential that this, like I say, we're coming to a head. Like, if y'all think that, here, I'm gonna put it like this. I'll be very surprised if Donald Trump and his administration goes all 4 years. I'll be very surprised. With as excited as everybody is about everything, I'll be very surprised if society continues on with the status quo for another 5 years. I'll be very surprised. If we're sitting here having a conversation about 9 to 5s and government taxation and stuff in 5 years, then I'm completely wrong. But I don't think these are conversations that we're going to be having. I think that's going to be something that we're not going to be thinking about soon. We are soon reaching times crazy enough that little green men won't seem crazy at all. The crazy thing, Magician Doom, is that it don't seem crazy at all right now. Most people don't even know that these hearings are happening or care. You know why? Because people got bills. You feel me? I can barely see shadow figures and shit, but I feel energy on my back like somebody behind me whispers since I was a kid. Just never knew what it was. And you can meditate on that, and it could be something, and it could be an energy. It could be a spirit. It could be whatever you feel the energy is off of it is probably what it is. And if it's a negative energy, I would rebuke it in the name of Jesus. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Oh yeah. Oh, Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe has a lot of gold, and supposedly gold is one of the rarest things in the universe. This is how I see the future. Empty wastelands, low water, low food, survive. I hope that it's not like that. I hope that if there is a calamity coming forth, that we as people can learn from this, and it will elevate us enough to where we can sit on if there is a galactic federation, as they say, we can sit on the council with confidence that we've been through the paces many times, that we've destroyed ourselves over and over, and that we're ready to come to a point that where free energy is available for everybody, healthcare is available for everybody, a way of life, a quality of life that everybody can enjoy, and instead of us worrying about our physical attributes, we can spend our time, in the metaphysical realm, in the mental realm, playing off of each other, not just shit posting on the internet, where we can actually understand each other's ideas and empathize with each other in ways that we can never understand. You understand? Imagine, I'm a very stubborn person. I can be arrogant at times, and I can be, I'm stuck in my ways, right? In a lot of ways. And people can say that you're conservative, even though most of the way I think is very liberal. People think that I'm conservative because I am so old fashioned in a way. But imagine if I could see in the brain of somebody that wants me to see different, and I can completely understand their way of thinking, and they can completely understand my way of thinking, and there is no conflict there because the understanding is complete. The language barrier between us isn't such that there's these arguments where we feel like we're attacking each other on these micro levels with these aggressions and whatnot. You understand what I'm saying? Because of little animosities and stuff, there's just absolute empathy that we can share with each other. Imagine your enemy, you think completely different than your enemy, but your enemy can see your brain and you can see your enemy's brain. You can see his heart and he can see your heart completely. Things would be completely different. You understand what I'm saying? If we could get to that point, our civilization would evolve beyond where we are now, where everything is based on carnal pleasure and just the next moment of feeling good or to be entertained. There's a deeper level to existence that we should all try to get to, right? Beyond just the physical pleasures, just beyond the comforts of this physical universe, right? That's why we're here. We're here to perceive reality. And reality, obviously, if you've lived long enough, you see it shifts. It's not the same. When we were little, we thought reality was one way, and now that we're older, reality is something different. So it's our job as these beings to try to perceive that and understand it. And if we are recycle or we're recycled through our kids, we can pass on that knowledge in order for them to have a better understanding of the environment around them. But that is much easier to achieve when we can talk directly to each other in our brains. I understand the exercise that was performed on me. I completely understand it. And I'm not mad at it. I understand why they were trying to get me to talk to her in her head. I understand it. I get it. I get what the exercise was about. I get I get it, And the reason I believe that we were interacted with in the first place, and this is just no credit to her, but I believe that she has and I've always said this about her, as much as she irritates me, she has a strong psychic link to things. And I think that comes from her not being able to see. And I think that's why we were interacted with. And that's what it was about, me trying to talk to her in her head, where I believe that the ability, if she was able to focus and not be thinking about this and that and this nigga and that nigga, she's one of these people that they talk about with ESP, if she would focus, which my baby mama would never focus. And I believe that those experiments are necessary in order for us to evolve beyond what we are right now. Because right now, like I said, we're like a virus. Everything is about us feeling good. It's about taking from the earth, not putting back in. It's about waste. It's not about, and it's all about feeling good. It's not just about feeling good. We can feel amazing. We can feel amazing at all times. But a part of the experience is not just about feeling good. It's about pain. You understand? It's about that. Like, even being born is fucked up, right? Like, why do you think that is? Like, you don't come on with a fucking stork. You come in blood and pain and sacrifice, right? Because that's what the universe wants to experience. That's what God wants to experience. And he's experiencing that shit through us and through all of these other life forms. But while we're here as this form, we can evolve, bro. We're that fucking close. And it's just like every goddamn time we get this close, we do something that fucks us over. Y'all look at all these ruins we have, all these human ruins we have around the planet. How many goddamn times have we been to this point? How many times? How many civilizations have risen past where we are? And then something happens. It's us. It's us. It's something in us, bro. It's something broken. It's like we were designed to get to a point, like a season, like I said, cosmic season, to get to a point, and then we just cull ourselves off and we shed and we revert back into this old age of superstition and darkness. And then we build ourselves back up and we think we're so fucking smart, and we start polluting the earth again and we start doing all this fuck shit. And then once again, we wipe ourselves out, and we do that over and over and over again. And this could potentially be our last cycle. So if we could get something fucking out of this point and not just fucking keep fucking rewriting history as we do, maybe we can be a class 1 civilization and not just fucking monkeys with laser guns. we humans, we Y'all human, right? Humans, we, us, we, people, we, all of us, humankind, us. We are one thing, bro. Even if what they're saying is a fraction, even if what they're saying is a fraction bit true, if what the government's saying is a fraction bit true, we all we got. You know what I'm saying? We all we got at this point. Thank you. Salute to you too. You know what I'm saying? Like we all we got. We don't have, you know what I'm saying? We don't necessarily have cosmic allies. You know what I'm saying? If we are the way that we are, we all we got. We have to evolve. They can't make us evolve. They can't make us be something else. We have to want to do that. Our societal structure has to want to do that. Individually, yeah, we are what we are. We're going to have our wants, our dislikes, our biases, but society-wise, society can't constantly be geared towards money making and this, like I say, carnal fucking pleasure. That's all we go after. We go after what's going to make us feel good. Most of our technology up to this point has been about what's going to make life easier for us, which is supposed to be, right? Obviously, we're making technology now that's going to replace us, but we have to get past that and want to evolve even spiritually as people. Like I say, we have to want to, and not just to want to, because everything I was telling you about the MK Ultra, about the remote viewing, about all these fucking amazing things that the government has discovered was all about warfare. It wasn't nothing about elevating human mind. I mean, imagine you literally finding out that there's a plane of existence between existence, and your only way of thinking is to think, well, how can I use this application for war? Well, no, bro. How can you move food from one area to another? How can you talking about how to move bombs from from your silo to a village over there and some, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on now. That's what I'm saying. The wrong people are in charge. Or we want to figure out how to fucking communicate with each other in our brains so we can give commands directly. Look up these programs, and they figured it out. They figured out how to control dogs with remote controls, cats with remote controls, birds with remote controls, just through their brain. You don't think they can't do that with people? You don't think they can't do that with you and me? Y'all haven't seen all these so-called cell phone towers they've been putting up? Why would they put those towers up? Y'all think that's to make your cell phone service better? Our cell phone service has been great for fucking almost 20 years now. That's not what that's for. That is not what that's for. That is not what that's for. Those are not communication towers. That is some alien bullshit. Every time y'all see one of those towers, that is not regular. That is creepy fucking they live type shit, right? I believe there's shit in the sky right now, outside, wherever you are, that if you could see on a certain spectrum, you would be your mind would be fucking blown. There are things out there right now that you can't see because they didn't put up all these goddamn towers and shit. They got all these frequencies blocking out. Why would they get rid of all those bells? I lived in Milwaukee for almost 4 years, and we used to have all these churches around Milwaukee, and the bells would ring around the city, and it was so fucking pretty. It was pretty. It felt good. Of course, you don't realize when you're younger why it feels good. But you understand older that these are frequencies, those that dun 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 dun. And then the bell just rang, and it's just like you could feel it, and it was just like, bro, like that's a good thing. They took all that shit. Why? There's a reason. Look it up. I'm sorry, I just went there today, bro. Yes, cell service. Last night, niggas was having problems with that Jake Paul fight too on their cell phone. People who want peace and love and freedom don't want power and to lead to madness. It's true. Like myself, I've had videos go viral on TikTok and people say you should get into politics. I would never want to rule over people. I would want people to be able, and I know this is idealistic of me, and it will ultimately get me killed. I want people to be able to think for themselves and come to conclusions for themselves. And ultimately, people have different ideas than I have. I have different ideas than they have. And maybe somewhere in the middle, those ideas are something that creates something, some version of a truth, right? And that's how I feel societies and nations and individuals, couples, men and women are supposed to come together to make each other better. Like, yeah, that's what I feel. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like people that seek power, and I've said this before in another video, people that seek power, that any politician, I always, anyone, bro, as nice as they are, you may agree with everything that they're saying, but anybody that's going to literally sit up there on that stage and take that type of scrutiny for power just to rule over people is a different type of nigga, is a stronger type of nigga, is a different type of individual. And I mean mentally, because you got to understand there are certain we are people, and there are certain archetypes of people that exist throughout people. And a lot of people that are into politics are sociopaths. They're crazy. They don't give a fuck about people. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about me. They just want to rule. They just want to put out rules to have a name in history. That's it. I don't want that. I would want, like, even as far as policing, right? Once again, idealistic. I would want people to be able to police themselves, and us as a community to police the community and come up with rules and punishments for the crimes committed against the community. But you can't. We can't, because we can never come to an agreement on a small enough level without this faction trying to take advantage of this faction, and there's just tribalism, and you have these warlords. The government was to, as much shit as I was to talk about right now, if the government was to go away tomorrow, as much shit as I'll talk about the government, if they were to go away tomorrow, you're going to have a system of feudalism that most people wouldn't be able to handle. You're going to have warlords. You're going to have gangs. You're going to have people getting taken advantage of. Women will be used as currency. That's what happens. We literally devolve without a central structure, without a central system, without a central daddy. And before there was a central daddy, there was the eye of God, right? People feared that judgment would, and they still should be fearing that, but they felt that judgment would take them, so they behaved themselves. People don't believe in that shit now. So what do they have? They have Big Brother, they have the cameras, they have daddy government. But without that structure, especially with as many people that exist, you devolve into a stage of feudalism that I say most of the population can't handle, because as somebody said, we revert back to broken buildings, desolate roads. The worst case scenario y'all seen out of every zombie movie is what we become as people in those scenarios. Unfortunately, on a smaller scale, no, because we're more separated. We have to rely on each other more. But within these mega cities that we've built, we've constructed, I want y'all to look at the coast of, like, from Santa Clarita all the way down to damn near San Diego is one big city. That's one big mega city. There's very, very little breakage between Santa Clarita Valley and San Diego. That's one mega structure, all populated by human beings, right? All just so, if things were to break down, how do you think that collection of human beings are going to fare, right? As much as I don't like the government, as much as I don't like the central system, I understand that it serves a purpose to a certain degree, right? I do. It's just, unfortunately, we don't have the right people in there at any point in time that want to get in there and do these things in order to improve upon the species. They want to get in there to be rich. They want to get in there to make their families better, not for the betterment of mankind. And that's what this should be about. All of this, even these conversations on Congress about these UAPs, we shouldn't even have to question whether or not this is manipulation. It should be a conversation about how this technology and how these interaction with these advanced entities, as they call them, could better our species. And these are not the conversations that we're having. We're not having these conversations. They're talking about how to reverse engineer their technology so that they can go over there and bomb niggas. I mean, honestly, like, at this point, like, when you really think about it, do we even deserve this planet? Do we? Ask yourself that. Pray on it. If you pray, ask yourself, ask God, do we deserve Earth? Knowing that, if this information is true, I'm just going off of the government's information, YouTube. That's all. I'm not throwing nothing else in there. If what they're telling us is true, that would mean that the government's real fucked up, right? That would mean that everybody should have free healthcare right now, right today. If y'all are having these hearings telling us there's other entities here living under the ocean, everybody that's watching this right now should have free healthcare. Nobody should have to pay rent tomorrow. Y'all got AI, y'all got robots. Nobody should have to do a mundane job tomorrow. That shit should be a wrap today. But we not. It's not, because it's a joke. It's a fucking joke. And with that being said, y'all, thank y'all for joining me. I'm glad y'all was here. You know what I'm saying? We lost the ability to govern ourselves, so they try to do it for us unrighteously in various ways. Indeed. And they get away with it too, because they keep us divided. They keep us at each other's throat. I went off on fucking TikTok yesterday, and I feel bad about the video, but I meant it. I meant everything I said. I was really mad. I saw a video of a woman, of a African American woman, a very pretty African American woman, full natural hair, everything beautiful, get up there and say that she, you know, she pretty much is wishing death on black men, right? And that shit, in that moment, I just, you ever see something and it's not the time. I wasn't in a bad, I was in a great mood. I was in a fantastic mood. I had visited Anisha, fucking talking to Mercury, was having a good time in this video. This woman said she don't give a fuck if a white person shoots a nigga in the neck because Donald Trump won the election. And I get it. Fuck Donald Trump, right? Fuck that man, right? Absolutely. But to say that, to put that affirmation out there against us off of some stupid politics shit, because it don't matter who's sitting there, really. At the end of the day, it don't matter. Your life is going to be the same, whether it's Trump, whether it was Kamala, whether it's Gloop, whether it's fucking whoever. Your life is probably going to be the same. So to get up there and to wish death on us pissed me off to my core. And I went off on that girl online. I did. And I used the B word way more times than I should have. But I was pissed the fuck off. I was emotional. And I shouldn't have been that emotional about that shit. But I would have been just as emotional if I heard a black man, say that he wished, because, black men have their issues with black women on here. This is a back and forth thing. But if I see a black man say the same thing about a black woman, I would have the same fucking reaction. I would have this, I would see red just as this, because why? None of these conversations that we're having about 50-50, about this stupid fucking election, about none of these politicians, about none of this system warrants that shit. None of it. Wishing death on niggas don't warrant that. If y'all not talking to y'all family because of the way that they voted, y'all don't get the way that the system works. Y'all don't understand some things. Talk to your family. They may have different political opinions about y'all. Hash it out. They're never going to see things the way that you see the way you see the world. You're never going to see things the way that they see the world. But guess what? Before these elements of contention were introduced to y'all were family. Get over it. Y'all don't have to agree. You think me growing up with my brother, I agree with everything my brother thought? You think everything that he agrees with everything that no, we don't have to. But he's still my brother. I don't care what his politics are or who he the fuck voted for. You think that fucking matters to me? No, it doesn't matter. I don't care. And I would never wish death on him, his wife, no black woman, none of that. Not even that black woman that wished death on us. I would never wish death on y'all. I see how the state works. We see how the state works. We see how they violate civil rights constantly. We have the rights here, but it don't mean that the state don't, step over that line and violate those rights. And especially when it comes to black people, especially when it comes to economics, especially when it comes to us supposedly, because a lot of people get mad at me because you're always thinking about race. It's not about race. Unfortunately, I realized a long time ago, because I used to be one of those people, right? I have interracial kids, mind you. My kids are half Mexican. And I used to believe that you can't, I don't see color, right? You shouldn't see color and all this other stuff. And I believe that. I believe that. I, in my heart, believe that. But unfortunately, I live on a planet where most people do, right? And, I was born in skin that people tend to want to persecute and take advantage of. right? It's just the truth, and it's just something that I didn't understand completely when I was a lot younger. When I was in my 20s, in my early 30s, I didn't understand it completely because the world hadn't presented itself to me in that way. The world had only presented me with honey and rainbows and sunshine, and I'm just playing, but y'all get what I'm saying. I hadn't that element of the system. I didn't understand. I didn't understand it. I don't have the luxury as a black man that lives in America to not point out the racial components to certain things. So when I address black people, especially specifically, I do so because there is a reason behind it. You understand what I'm saying? And it's not to talk down or anything like that, because I am in no position to talk down on anybody. It's just that as a people, there is a unity that we should have, that other groups of people have, that we don't have for each other. There is a grace that we should have for each other that we don't afford each other. We just don't. We just don't do it. We don't do it like other groups of people do. We just don't. And so when these conversations do come up, they're very frustrating. And when your own group of women are getting online wishing death upon y'all, even though the stats are pointing out that black men don't even vote in that direction mostly anyway, it's disheartening. Not because of what they're saying, because women can be emotional, understandable, but it's because they're saying it not understanding that they are playing into the same system that they complain about constantly. That is the white supremacist system, that division between men and women, black men, black women, that division. And like I say, and the reason I brought up me having interracial kids, people say, well, how do you have their conversation? You've had kids with other people. And that's why I say, at a time, I didn't understand the racial component that was on me. I didn't understand it. I didn't care. It didn't bother me. I didn't see it, but it's there. And it's not something that I can ignore. You understand what I'm saying? I have biracial kids. I have no regrets about having biracial kids whatsoever. You understand what I'm saying? But as far as like my understanding of the way America works, the way people see things, the way the world works, the way my baby mama saw things, the way her family saw things, I didn't see it that way at the time. I see it now. You get what I'm saying? People say, oh, it's your nigga wake up call. You know what I'm saying? She got you on child support and that woke your ass up. It's like some cold water to the face. But any race of woman can put you on child support. You know what I'm saying? That was like one of the things I yelled about in that video, is that there's a constant talk about white supremacy, that there are so many men on child support. That is the system, to which benefits from, illegally, mind you, from interest from that child support. If the child support was 100% going to the kid, great, fantastic, but it doesn't. A good portion that goes to the state, which is a fucking problem and is a crime and a travesty. That supports the system that takes out of both of y'all pocket, the daddy, the mama. Y'all both ain't getting from a man's earnings, because the state, once again, is taxing people further. But in trying to explain this, people say, you just don't want to pay for your kids. That's, nigga, no, that's not what it is. I want to pay. If you're going to take certain, I'm going to tell y'all how much they take, damn near $600 from me a month. But y'all take all that money from me, and she only sees a fraction of that. That's stupid to me. You understand what I'm saying? She should see all of it. If y'all going to take it from me, give it all to her. You feel me? But once again, that is the system. And so I describe that system that is that is weighing down black man's finances. And like I say, black men shouldn't be so liberal with spreading their seed. But at some point, sometimes you have babies with people that you think that you're going to be with for the rest of your goddamn life. It just don't pan out that way. You feel me? It just don't. It don't pan out that way. But there is a racial component to everything, unfortunately. And I wish it wasn't like that. Even to this day, at 42 years old, I wish it wasn't like that. But as a black man, I can't sit up there and just talk about all these issues and ignore that there is a racial component under there. That will be ignorant of me. That will be acting like my ancestors didn't go through what they went through. That will be acting like my grandma didn't go through what she went through. You understand what I'm saying? Like my grandfathers didn't go through what they went through. That would be just ignoring everything that they went through. You know, I can't do that. My little sister behind me here feels threatened. She is not me. It's because we all have different veils over our minds as individuals and as a collective. Yeah, and that's all from our conditioning. So with that being said, y'all, I'm glad y'all joined me. I know I went off on a little bit of a tangent there. I just wanted to tell y'all about that video if y'all ever saw it. I was going to post it up here, but it was I was way too mad. I was like, no, I ain't gonna post it on my YouTube because that shit is toxic and it's divisive. And I make them take it down off my TikTok. But with that being said, y'all, I'll catch y'all next time. I'll probably make a video later talking about some things in detail. But I see. I'll catch y'all next time, y'all. Bye bye.